Hello, YouTube, and how is everybody tonight? My name is Bruce Lombardo, and I am the host of Tablebreakers. Tonight, we are on our final, might be final portion of our discussion, the basic plots. There's 7 basic plots according to how the narratives have been since the dawn of time. And my friend Jade has been wonderful in his research, and he's given us a lot to chew on these past 2 nights we've done this stream. So now I'd like to pan over to my wonderful guests. And tonight we are inviting our friend from the west side of the United States. What is that? Yeah, okay. Bruce, don't flash gang signs on the goddamn stream. Okay, I won't. Sorry. Anyway. Please welcome Shadow and Sun. Please welcome Baron G-Rock. Please welcome Kai. Please welcome Connell, the Cigar DM. And please welcome our facilitator for this series, Jade.
Hello. Welcome back to Tablebreakers, guys.
Glad to be back.
So, in the previous weeks, we've been talking about the 7 basic plots. I'm going to recap some of those for those who may not have watched or tuned in to the previous episodes. So, in the first week, we talked about overcoming monsters and the quest. These are the 2 most common type of plot elements that we use in games because they're kind of the easiest to understand on many parts. You know, the part of the GM and the part of the players. In the second week, we touched on the rags to riches and the quest plot types, where rags to riches doesn't necessarily mean going from, extreme wealth or from having no wealth to having extreme wealth. Sometimes it's having a person that your character's invested in, and then it's taken away, or a city. The voyage and return is the 4th plot type we covered. This is most often seen in The Hobbit, but can incorporate both the overcoming the monster and quest plot types. This week, we're going over comedy and tragedy, and if we have time for it, rebirth. So, what makes a comedy? Well, a comedy is a plot type where 2 protagonists are destined to be together, but there are things that get in the way. Oftentimes, it's confusion, miscommunication, or misunderstanding. Once resolved, typically in a funny way, for some stories, other stories not so funny, the protagonists unite. Most oftentimes, you'll find stories like this, such as Dante's Inferno. It's technically a comedy. It's a divine comedy, even. Dante eventually gets his goal. To use more current media, I would have to say Frozen, or any of the Disney princess movies of the last 10 years. The princess gets her prince. Most romances are also considered comedy in this manner. So, how can we, as game masters, tell comedy stories through our games? Anyone who wants to start may start.
I am doing the wonderful tradition of picking my cigar for a stream. So I heard what you had to say, and the comedy is comedy aspect of this is I pick a cigar, and I think this is a cigar I want to use. I cut the end off, I light it up, I get halfway through it, and it becomes a fucking log, which makes me cry. So there's the comedy and the tragedy of said cigar.
Well, I guess I'm up.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. As most of you know, I'm a huge fan of a lot of the traditional sword and sorcery novels like Conan the Barbarian, Tarzan, of course, John Carter being one of my absolute favorites. And a lot of the let's call it the romance side of the comedy, is a key factor in most of the stories I just read, including a lot of Edgar Rice Burroughs' other novels, where the two main characters, the man and the woman, regardless of who they are, have some sort of cultural. Usually, it's a cultural obstacle, especially Carson of Venus, because they're from other planets. John Carter of Mars, other planets. Their entire societies are so vastly different because they're completely different worlds. There's always a humorous side of it that only us as the readers get to see. And that's one of the things that really draws me into those stories, in addition to the time-honored tradition of rescuing the princess, which I've talked about before in both my stream or my shows and here with you guys. I think that it's an often immensely overlooked motivation plot that we can all actually benefit from. Like I've said before, there's almost nothing I can think of that's more indicative of the heroic legend and story than that of rescuing the hero's true love from whatever monster or villain or situation or circumstance that is just all but forgotten in role-playing games these days. No one wants to address the entire situation. No one wants to, deal with the intimate details, the smooching and the kissing stuff. To quote one of the greatest romance stories of our time, and other than the fact it's supposed to be, here on Earth and close to a historical story, if you look into it, it has it has some of the absolute best characters, humorous lines. The entire story is just, if you haven't seen it, I don't know what's wrong with you. Valentine's Day just came and went. You should have had your opportunity to see it. If not, go out and get it. See how you can add the most simplest plot to any one of your campaigns. I'm not saying that every single hero in your campaign has to have, the rescuing of and meeting of and hooking up of the two characters, the male and the female, provided that's the way you want to go in your story. Even The Hobbit had Sam and Rosie that was so often overlooked, but that's one of the happiest parts of the end of that story. We don't use these elements, but can you imagine what it must have been like for Sam or for Rosie to finally, be able to live their, happily ever lives at the end of that story? That's almost the only happy ending in the entire Lord of the Rings and Hobbit series. That there's very little else that compares to that, and we all take it for granted. Most of us here, I believe, are married, and we've probably been with our wives for decades or close to, and we probably all overlook that. But think of the younger players in our games who don't necessarily have that going on for them just yet. We don't have to make it weird, but we can still include it in the story and give them a motivation that, in my opinion, is far greater than any magic item or any kingdom. Because without, the king and the queen, you don't really have a kingdom. You just got some old guy sitting in a chair telling everybody what to do. We can do these scenes and just fade to black at that moment that it gets awkward for anybody at the table. But to just toss it to the wayside, that has been done more times than not throughout the history of role-playing games, to me just seems a real tragedy.
I see what you did there.
Bravo, sir. Tragedy is going to be the next one we talk about.
I think romance,
and that's when they do get together and realize that they can't stand each other after 10 days. I was going to go years, but in today's society, it's about 10 days.
You're going to say, Bruce?
I think the romance doesn't really get played that much at the table. You really have to have a special group of players that are into that sort of getting a little deeper with everybody's sensitivities and not stepping on someone's awkward button, recognizing when you're hitting an area that is really just a neutral zone to Klingon Empire space. And I'm saying that because I was discussing this with a friend of mine the other day. It would be kind of cool to have a group of friends that were into that level of play, where you would be able to go like not immediately fade to black, but have the playful, mirthful conversations. And
That takes some balls.
That takes balls at the table. That really just takes a set of nuts. That I, as a dungeon master, haven't had those drop yet, and I'm pretty okay with fade to black as soon as like, okay, well, you hook up with the wench in the bar, you made your charisma check, and you gave her a quippy one-liner, and like Tony Stark, you're gonna be in like Flynn for about 30 minutes. I'll come back to you later, and let that go, and then go to the other players. But it would be neat to have a table where you had people that maybe they were writers, maybe they were actually really good writers, and not like myself. I consider myself a not so good writer because I didn't turn into a writer. I wrote books. That doesn't mean I'm a writer. But you have people that are talented with the prose and the language and with the parsing, and part of the role play at the table, especially if it's at the same table, is the actual like just the physicality of being at the table. Some people, when they're turning it on. You might not get physically aroused by it. You don't have to, but you can tell when they're trying to whip out their A game or their A game. And so you do that, and it would be kind of cool to have that experience as a tabletop player. I'm not saying you need a long campaign of like Harlequin romance novels, but I'm saying that it would be pretty cool to have somebody run a game where they weren't afraid to just be like, okay, guys, if this is too much, just say, and they start creeping up the chain, and then like somebody will eventually be like, all right, panic, my morale's busted, no more, no mas. But that's cool because all of you at the table have the maturity to be able to be like, all right, this is probably where I say this is enough, but I thank you. And it would be good for that because you would have, okay, well, we have this defining line right here. And so let's drop it back a couple steps and not go towards that line, but we can go to that line. And in most tabletop games, I mean, most of the time, I'm going to just say that it's usually you're in your younger years and you're playing at a garage or somebody's basement. If your mother or the authoritative mother figure of the house heard that, be it grandma or aunt, coming out of the basement talking about how you're slipping off the princess's dress, and all the other eager 13-year-old boys are like, does she look like this? And they whip out like the centerfold playbook or the centerfold Playboy. I'm like, oh fuck, god damn it, And that was kind of what happened to Eric's a couple times, but when I was growing up. But this sort of thing, it would just be neat to not have such a that's the only place where I have my prudish sense kick in, because I want to keep my players at my table. I don't want to step on their toes and be like, all right, guys, we're going to have a furry sex scene here with a couple of wild wolves and maybe a fox thrown in, because that's just how they are. They fuck everything. So if you guys could like just shut your ears while I narrate this next 2 or 3 paragraphs of garbage text, I'll continue to vomit this, and in about 2.5 minutes you can come back. What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm saying that it would be neat to have a comfortable line of romance on as at least a factor in the game. You don't have to have the triumphant carry the bride up to the honeymoon suite action moment, complete with stamina rolls and charisma checks. You don't have to do that. But I am saying that when you're playing around a bunch of adults, you should be able to know where your friends' sensitivities are and not push to that limit. Be comfortable with each other and then like, all right, well, fade to black. Somebody else want to carry that ball? Go ahead. The football's all yours.
Oh yeah, totally. I would almost want to say that you kind of hit on the Harlequin romance novel thing, but it's obvious that most people who play never read a single book like that at all, because they're all like so fucking awkward and shit. Like once you like, it's like one of those. So I know that you mentioned it would be cool to have that group of writers and people who are totally okay with this shit. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit and say that one of the biggest reasons why this is kind of hard to pull off is that you got 5-6 people. How do you make an interesting encounter for all, here's a tailored encounter for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because you don't want to just leave one guy off, one player out. And then it's like, because it's obvious that because no one wants to admit that, hey, do you read romance novels? Do you know how to make a scene interesting? Did you fall asleep when your girlfriend's like, come watch these movies with me? And you're like, oh shit, it's a rom-com. Fuck it. I don't want to. I'm here for vampires, explosions, and stabby gunfights and fast cars. My romance is hot chick over there. I want vroom vroom, drive car fast, shoot gun, and that's usually and swoon Bond girl. Yay!
Remind me to show you guys the Twilight for Guys movie trailer when we're done with this.
Oh no! Even better, do the what is it? The Riff Tracks version.
Oh god!
The only way I can watch it. It's the only way I can watch it.
No, this isn't really Twilight, Garrett. This is a good spoof of Twilight.
No, this is actually Twilight with the Riff Tracks.
I've seen it with you.
Amazing.
But when you find the players who can write, who are interesting, who haven't fallen asleep during a list, and then you can understand that some players go, not for me, but I'm here to watch, or
not touching that one.
Like you can have interesting interesting character interaction, personality things, and still have the fade to black bullshit. But yeah, you just gotta have the right players. But unfortunately, you gotta get past that. Everybody's awkward as fuck around each other because we live in prudish America, where everyone's so fucking prudish as fuck. Meanwhile, you get some people who are used to a bit more of an open liberal society, not American liberals, but a much more open one, where it's not taboo as fuck because, our country wasn't founded by a bunch of puritanical fuckwads.
He's not wrong. That's the problem.
Not out of your country because you were too assholish for the fucking assholes. Congrats. And yeah, you can have an interesting thing where oh my god, get past this. Oh god, players might actually have an interesting relationship. The DM might have an interesting relationship. Oh dear god, somebody might actually understand what the opposite sex might like because they've actually done some research or some thought, and they're not playing a pure stereotype. Holy fucking shit. And it's like, because you got mature players. Wow. But let's be honest, most of us start giggling at the idea of, hey, look, boobs. And he said dick. And that's where most people who are playing's brains turn off. They're like, I'm done. This is all I want. And you're like, whatever. Fuck it. Which is always that wonderful line of, plus, again, you got to make it interesting for, unless you got that one player who's doing really good and everyone else is kind of going, oh, dude, I like that story. Let's go with that one. And then the GM goes, and now something horrible happens, and now you got to go out there and actually, yeah, it's a pain in the ass. This is
Rescue the princess.
this is probably one of the least easy to use story plot lines, because unless you got like a small group and everybody's actually interested, this one's going to be one that you're like hit or miss, and then you're trying to feel out the minefield of, okay, do I have a bunch of overly prudish conservative Protestant assmongers and other fuckers in my group? And if the answer is yes on any of them, you're like, let's not do anything interesting, because take this plot and storyline idea, put it on a shelf, and then go, interesting things happen off screen, because if we bother to do anything interesting, we're going to freak out Karen over there and Stu, the boring motherfucker, who are like, it ain't lights off, missionary sex. We have sex once a year for procreation purposes, and we date only in large groups of 20 people because we gotta make sure we make God happy. And you just kind of freak out and just go, whatever, I'm done. Fuck off, everybody.
Kai, you went to my high school?
I grew up in we're in the Midwest.
Oh, that's right.
We're in the retard belt. We are in the belt of they might as well be fucking came off the Mayflower rejects who are scared of anything that ain't God, guns, and fucking alcohol.
Yeah, we're not talking about Texas.
Wait. You're missing bacon.
What was that?
Those are some of my favorite things in life.
You're missing bacon, Kai.
You're right.
All the bacon.
You're right. But this is why we can't have an interesting games where people do interesting things, because if you might offend the sensibilities of the church, and God help you if you piss off the old fuckers who are just nice on Sundays so they can pray their sins away, because they're assholes 6 days of the week, so they gotta be nice on Sunday. Fuck off. Fuck all of that.
Until you have the preacher actually sitting at your table and he's the worst of the bunch.
The bad part is I've had that situation where I've had the preacher and the preacher's son at my table and gone,
Dude, I'm glad you finished that sentence.
holy shit. Holy shit. But no, when you sit down and realize those two people are the most devious, horrible motherfuckers who will burn down villages, and you're like, holy shit. And then the preacher goes, it's a fantasy game. I'm having fun. And I'm like, go forth, warlord. I go forth, warlord, as I play as I play Riders of Doom for you, and as the Conan music is bouncing off the walls, and he's just like, I walk in, I burn the village down, I steal the most beautiful. I know, right? And he's like, I steal the most beautiful person, and I ride off, and have fun. And you're like, wait, you're the preacher. I'm like, not right now, I'm not. And you're like, glorious.
They're human too.
This is glorious. Right. And then he plays the most evil chaos army on the tabletop possible. And you're like, what the hell? And he's like, I got free time. What do you think I do all week when I prep my next lecture, my next sermon, and then I paint Warhammer miniatures all day? And you're like, oh my God, where have you been? And
that's the truth of it.
Would it be easier if we just instituted the phrasing line from every once in a while?
I mean, yes. But I want to say something really quick, and this is going to be something that the rest of the group, Kai, you don't get any say in this, but the rest of the rest of the group has to get a say yay or nay. I wish to canonize Kai, Saint Kai of the Rants. Yay or nays?
I had 3
I don't
rants.
think we have that power.
Yay.
I got 1 yay.
No,
cool.
Oh, as long as it's not a Kanye, we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but what is his miracles?
Surviving childhood.
His ability to make us feel better about ourselves through his rants.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow, the chat has it. I got two a yes from chat already. So it will be the false saint guy. All right.
No,
So I guess my turn.
Crafty,
I
no,
guess
no,
I can.
no.
I have disappointed George Lucas. My day is complete. I can leave now.
Hey, Crafty, how you doing, bud? Darren P. Thank you, gents,
Crafty, what's happening? Darren.
Since we're talking about the romantic side of comedy, I will go with that really quick. I think it's what we're doing.
Thank you.
Crazy.
Just a tip, Karen. Just a tip.
No.
Greatest show I've ever seen.
It's up there. It's definitely up there.
I don't have a
I'm
Pope.
thoroughly
I'm
addicted.
sorry, I don't have one.
Archer is required watching for you, Kai. I'm sorry, George Lucas. You helped me with my childhood, and I
Sorry,
feel
biggest hat I've got. So
All right. Since we're doing the romantic side of comedy, I will jump in on this. I guess I am the unfortunate in real life. I am the unfortunate hopeless romantic. I love the concept of love. I think it's amazing. I think it's one of the few things in life that's worth living for. Plus, I grew up in the '80s, and God, every fucking song in the '80s had love somewhere in the goddamn title.
I would do
Power ballads.
Yeah.
I
Power
know.
ballads.
I mean, Sammy Hagar is the biggest criminal of them all. Holy shit. Anyways, so when it comes to RPG, and somebody's like, "Well, I want," and I'm guilty of this, where I will have my character will have a romantic twist to it, and I think if it's done well and it's done appropriate to the party you have at hand, it can add to the game. It gives that said person a driving force to go do whatever needs to be done and try to make it back. We see this in novels. We see these in movies. I mean, there's a few songs even that talks about it. So having it into our RPG is just a natural segue. We got
natural
John.
extension-
What?
a natural extension of our out of game wholeness, making
Right.
it into our in game.
We got romance from everything from John Carter on Mars to the latest that 5e just shit out. Don't get me wrong, 5e is a good system. I'm not saying all the stories are great. That's all I'm saying. But I think having a group of people, that are comfortable with that, will add stuff to the campaign. Then it's just, yeah, we're going into another dungeon on Monday. We're gonna cut some goblins, some whatever, maybe a roper, get some treasure, and go home and get drunk. Nobody wants. I mean, that's like going to work. If I'm a dentist, why the hell do I want to go talk about teeth to somebody else? No, I want something more meat on the table. I want something the character to drive for. When I was in the last one that Jade ran, Wrath of the Righteous, for dumb luck, my character, not said by, well, kind of said by me, but my character had a female hook into the game that saved my character as a child. That was part of the game plot. That wasn't part of me tooling around. That was part of the story hook. I just drove the car a little bit further down the block, and it worked for my character. And I think,
and truth be told, that was a comedy for you.
oh yeah, my
Like, so the in the scenario, he picked the background trait that he was saved by this unknown being. Well, fast forward into the actual campaign, and this being reaches out to him through dreams. She is a worshiper of what god was that? Pharasma, I think it was. This is a Galarian Pathfinder. Desna. That's right, Desna. The dream god. And the character's a succubus. The NPC was a succubus, and a reforming succubus, mind you. And
is that a nun?
the comedy of it was he wanted to hook up with the succubus, not for the reasons you might all be thinking, but because the character had saved that NPC had saved his character's life previously, so he had general affection towards this succubus, even though he didn't know she was a succubus to begin with. Fast forward a little further, and his character dies to a Baylor. Baylor hit him with a vorpal weapon. I got 2 nat 20s and just took his head right off. It was yeah. I enjoyed that night quite well.
It's
I
merely
did
a
not-
flesh wound.
I did that, I think, to 3 characters, maybe 2. I can't remember.
3.
Anyway,
No, there was 3.
okay, so yeah, I lopped the heads off of 3 of the PCs that night, and when because the connection that they had was severed, she knew that he had died. When he revived, because we're at this point like level 20 in the game and mythic tier 10, when he was revived, she teleported without error to him, and it's like, what the hell happened? And it just kind of comedy ensued from there. And she's like, wait, you died. How did you die? Why did you die? Why were you in a position to be killed? Was how I was playing the character. Yeah, pretty much. So she reestablishes the link with all the other characters. But just before he had died, he was actually in a whorehouse. Like
It wasn't
maybe
my
hours
doing.
before. And thing is, her connection allows her to know what he's doing. They have kind of a shared consciousness in a way. So she knows he was with another woman at the demonic whorehouse.
Was it good for her too?
No, because she's trying to abstain. She's trying to purify her soul. So she's purposely abstaining at all times. The whole reason why they can't be together is until she achieves her goal and fully redeems. So when he did that, she she reestablished the link to the other 2 who were brought back to life, and then she comes up to him. He's like, "Are you going to reestablish the link with me?" She's like, "Yes." Smacks him right across the face and reestablishes the link because it's through a touch. And then she's like, "We're not done talking about this," and she teleports away. In the end, he does end up with her.
I did the typical Jack Sparrow response, like, I deserved that?
Yeah, so that was very much a comedy plot that was kind of sewn into the game to begin with. I just took it.
So we just drove it down the wall, yeah.
Yeah, we just kept going with it. It was the high point for a lot of the really dark tones to that campaign at that point. Because there are really the Wrath of the Righteous is supposed to be a very dark story. So having that in the mix every once in a while was very refreshing, I would have to say.
I mean, my character, because my character got his abilities, the mythic abilities, basically had a building dropped on him, and he went mad. I mean, he went gone mad. And it was just driving him back to some form of sanity.
Yeah, I believe I had it worked in that so long as the connection was established between the 2 of you, your character was sane.
No Gibson lethal
Mostly.
weapon sane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, this is just how romance has a place in D&D or any system you have in there. As long as you have people at the table that understand that this is not real life, but this is a RP session. This is just storytelling. Drink, I said story.
Baron, you got anything?
Well, when you're looking at it, with this type of situation, I know the comment was made earlier in chat by Bruce. Don't talk about not the kissing parts. That's actually a great. The Princess Bride is a great, example of this. It actually encompasses about 2 or 3 of them, including tragedy when he dies, and then actually the rebirth when Miracle Max brings him back, which we'll talk about hopefully here later. But
Yeah.
it's literally, and the thing is like what we've talked about before. It's layering all this together too, where one plot does not necessarily need to be the from point A to point B. You can interweave the other plots in there to get that from that point A to the point B. It can sometimes get a little hazy, especially if you're coming up with your own stuff. So definitely make sure that you're looking at everything, and when you, especially from a DM perspective, you want to make sure that you are really and truthfully putting everything together so that you don't cross the lines too much. You want to keep everything clear instead of getting it all murky to where you as a DM even lose where you're going. And I will also make the comment that especially right below me here, he did change his name. It's except you need to remove the false in front of it.
No.
Yes.
No.
Saint Kai of the CCs.
Not to be mixed up with Cobra Kai of Netflix.
Oh, no. That show is overrated trash. Let's just move on before I yell at that one. So,
Hail, grumpy old Ninja Kentaro. How are you doing, sir?
Before we move on, I got a couple of things that I want to add, because almost everybody brought up kind of I think something that should be added. I'm going to start with you, Kai. When you were asking how we can do it, please don't take this the wrong way. One at a time. Maybe in session zero, put that question forward to each of your groups if you guys do a session zero, and ask if any of them actually are interested in that aspect of their character's life. If you get a yes, hit them first and seed that plot line first, and then maybe
I'll expand a little bit on my idea. I have been in a grand total of 3 groups of people who were able to handle these kind of stories and plot lines. Each of those groups was far different, and they're rare as fuck. And yes, we managed to actually have a plot for everybody, but that was because everyone involved were people who liked those kind of stories. But unfortunately, the average group of people you sit down with don't particularly want to do those kind of stories, or they go so immature that why waste your time if the end result of it is somebody goes and then they stick to the most infantile prepubescent.
You broke the internet.
Right. So therefore you just got so you have people who might actually like an interesting, mature, will they, won't they, interesting plot line going on here that might go on bordering on moonlighting levels of weirdness. And it might last a whole campaign. And then you have this other guy in the background who's going, and you just go, fuck, whatever cool thing that we were working on is being ruined by the fact that you got the most immature fucker over possible under the table who's given that kind of goofy looking laughter whenever anything interesting starts happening. And you're just like, fuck it. Take these really cool storylines, put them on a shelf and go, look, whenever the immature fucker is not here, we'll have an interesting, cool storyline. But
I'll get to that in a second, Shadzar.
Last 2 points so we can move on, if you guys don't mind. We're all dungeon masters here, right? And we don't just role play the male characters and the monsters. There are females in our world, and maybe if we, actually try to give them a little depth and personality, maybe these issues will sort of reveal themselves while we're gaming. The female NPCs, are supposed to be real live people with real ambitions and desires and all these things. What better way to stretch and flex our acting muscles, if you will, to try these things? Like I said, after finding out if anybody at the table is even interested in the session 0 portion of character creation. If you get a negative on everybody at the table, you don't have to even waste your time. You just move on. This is just going to be a sausage fest, and everybody's fine with that. But if there's even one player who's like interested in having a family, having a kingdom, etc., then you've got one of the most powerful plots waiting to unfold, and all you have to do is just plant that little seed, and boom, it's going to make that particular part of the campaign more memorable than finding your holy sword or your staff of the magi or even slaying the dragon, in my humble opinion. Last thing I would recommend for anybody who's interested in any of this that we've just talked about is to read the greats. And by the greats, I mean Edgar Rice Burroughs, Robert E. Howard, all the old school writers before Dungeons and Dragons even existed. They were telling these stories, and maybe take a line from their books or try to emulate their style, how they did it, because a lot of books out there have all these aspects of the romance story, and you don't see them blushing when they're typing or getting all goofy or immature about doing it. They got paid good money to write these stories, and you can guarantee these stories were read by men and women who enjoyed sometimes these parts more than any other part of the story.
I want to add to that really quick if I can.
No.
All right, never mind.
Well, one comment from my
else said that
chat
before?
is one of my comments from my chat is actually, and you can also link it into domain building, or even because they could be the princess, the heir to a barony, even type thing, where it could actually wind up being more go right into the building more of the like a keep or something along those lines, and being holding lands and stuff like that, as opposed to just I'm the bard and I'm out I'm out hitting and quitting everything that's in the bar. You know what I mean?
Oh, bards, the reason for half everything's. No, so yeah, we've all we've hit on some good topics, mostly around the romance side of things. The comedy side of things, it's more about the happenstance of how you've gotten to the situation. It's about the confusion, it's about the misunderstanding, and romance plays a huge part of the comedy plot, as we've discussed. I think we're now ready to get into the other side, or the other mask.
Something for you.
Ah, yes. So now we're going to put on the other mask of theater, tragedy. Tragedy is kind of a hard one to play in a game setting, and the reason for that is nobody really likes the end of tragedies, especially if their character is going towards that end. The things that define a good tragedy, or a story or plotline of tragedy, is some kind of character flaw. It leads the protagonist to think that something is missing from their life. Yet power, wealth, romantic interest, and then they, because they have this in their mind, they feel that they must pursue whatever this is that's missing, through any means necessary as well. So, with that in mind, it might be. Sorry, I've got my notes, but my notes kind of dead ended right here.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of time to prep things. So the tragedy of the character is, they want this thing, whatever it might be, and they're willing to pursue it at any costs. And that's what the anticipation stage is, figuring out what they want and how they're going to get it. And then, the dominoes start, whatever they do to achieve their goal is the first domino of the stack. And when they push it over, at first they're in the dream stage. Everything they do goes right for them. When they go set out to obtain their MacGuffin, everything is going just golden for them. It's kind of like that the Faustian bargain. The deal with the devil, where Faust makes the deal with the devil. At first everything is going great for him. Eventually, he comes across the frustration of minor roadblocks or minor annoyances. Eventually, they become bigger and worse things because they just can't overcome them. After the frustration stage comes the nightmare stage, where they're faced with paranoia, and their antagonists are closing in. The walls are closing in around them, be it fate or actual an actual monster of some kind. And this will lead to the ultimate end. Now, the rebirth side of things we'll get into, because rebirth follows this same trend, but a rebirth story that fails is a tragedy. And the tragedy typically ends in death, destruction, or the unmaking of the individual in question. So how do we, how do we run a story that's based in tragedy, or a game based in tragedy, for those who don't like the word story?
Drink.
That's the only story. That's the only word for it.
Narrative of how we open the book for Call of Cthulhu. Volume.
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu typically ends in tragedy.
You could run it in Call of Cthulhu. You could run it in Rollmaster or D&D or Pathfinder. You can do any of that because you have
Any game, really.
Yeah, any game that has a mathematical formula.
Boot Hill?
Yeah, run it in Boot Hill. Fuck, nobody runs enough Boot Hill. I'm sorry. You could run this properly, and no matter how badass your character is on paper, you have to actually take that role up with your story, and you have to make sure that you're going about it trying to get yourself out of this pickle. Leaving a trail of dead bodies is not the usual way that a story ends in a happy narrative anyway. And most GMs, when they have that realization, like, I don't like these hack fests. I want an actual game where there's things on the line, and my death won't be just another one in this sad series of events of a bunch of deaths. And so you have that. So you can run this as a GM, and you can tear apart that player until he's in the final half hour of the movie RPG for Falling Down. And you're going to have a great time as a judge running that character. The player, if they love that character up to that point, they're going to go through the last half of Othello. They're doing the last 3 seasons of Sons of Anarchy.
Yo.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You get to lose it all, starting with your cousin or the guy you don't know so well. And it kind of hits you kind of big when it's, one of your brothers or maybe one of your best friends. And no matter how cool numerically you are on paper, that dungeon master, that gamekeeper, that GK, that storyteller, they should be able to pull apart things until your raw nerves are exposed. Go ahead.
I got one on this one. The best kind, if you can find a player who realizes that you're running a tragedy and then keeps playing into it and leaning into it, that's like one of the most interesting campaigns you're going to run. Where where their goal might be fantastic, but you could almost be running like I've seen players just embrace the idea that this is going to end badly and run right hard into it. And it's a beautiful moment. And I just love those because it's always fun watching a player set a goal and then you keep going, and here's the price you gotta pay, and here's the price you gotta pay, and then they keep on paying it until which point that they realize that, oh fuck, this is going to end very badly. Now you're like, but how badly? And they're like, I want to see how bad this is going to get. And I'm like, good, let's do this. And I've had players who have ridden the ship down to the bottom of the ocean because, fuck it, this is my course. And it's beautiful. And I've had players, sit there and be like, their final act as a player is literally circling doing the Babylon 5 President Clark thing and going, my last act is to burn the East Coast with an orbital death beam. Why? Because spite, motherfucker. Spite. Or you're poisoned, you're dying. He's like, yeah, but I'm going to make sure I earn enough money to help to ensure everyone. And like everything they're doing is just terrible. And you're like, change your course a little bit. No changing course. It's straight on to fiery oblivion, and I love every minute of those kind of games.
There comes,
And I think
go for it.
so. In when you're looking at like what a tragedy, if you're not quite grasping it, you could look at actually a couple of movies that have come out. Number one, episode 3, when Anakin loses, Padme. That goes into a tragedy. Another one, if you want to look at Endgame, the second part of it, when Scarlett Johansson or Black Widow for the Soul Stone basically commit suicide, so Hawkeye can go back home to his family. That is, she it was the price that she paid in order for him to go on. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh no, my player got run through and oh no, everyone's going to be sad.
I mean,
it's not necessarily that.
You've also got Peter Parker, or rather, the Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and Gwen Stacy.
Yep. Traditional Spider-Man.
Yeah, like he had all of this power and could do all these amazing things as Spider-Man, but in the end, his confidence within his power did not help him save Gwen Stacy.
No,
exactly.
I kind of go for it.
Yeah, I'll finish up my thought and then I'll let you go, Connell. Basically, and with this, you have to look at how you can balance this also once again with the players. You have to know how far is far enough and how far is too far, because you could theoretically push it too far. One great thing that you can do is have someone like an NPC who is actually traveling with the party, not necessarily maybe fighting alongside them, but a cohort or a hireling or something like that, where all of a sudden that they're taken and just viciously slaughtered, and it makes the actual player think, why am I doing this, and what price is too much in order to get the job done. Yes, we have to kill this evil, and it all ultimately could come back to wind up being a revenge type plot line, where now they've had their tragedy. Now comes the revenge, where they are going after the big bad that caused the tragedy. So that just kind of one of those kind of ideas in there too. Go ahead, Kyle.
Just remember, anytime you do a revenge plot, dig 2 graves.
Yes.
Now we're boiling over to my favorite thing in life. I'm Irish Romanian. I understand revenge. I like it. I understand.
Better
I
than
don't
an
like
Irish Russian? I think not.
it. Irish Romanian. We learned how to wait and wait, then get you at the end. But anyways,
No, we drink and then wait and then get them at the end.
so here's the thing with the good review. Now I want to bring up since we brought up movies, I want to bring up The Crow, the graphic. What 95?
94.
94. Okay, the Crow. A man and his wife were madly in love with each other, but she stuck her nose doing the right thing in the wrong place. She is murderly raped.
Not touching that one either.
She is horribly raped and murdered. He's tossed out of the building thinking he was Peter Pan. Well, he dies, comes back a year later, and he's now Revenant, and his sole mission is to get the guys who hurt the person he loved. Now, this is a race that's loud. This is a race that's loud in 5e. I don't know about earlier editions, but you can play one in 5e. It's morally meant for darker campaigns. Now, the thing with this though is there's a line. There is a very thin line you have to walk, because you'll either get a party that will just explode because one party is driving the ship right into hell, and the rest of the party doesn't want to go with them. Or you got the Carson Avenger moment. You killed a guy. Now we have to join up and be superheroes to stop you. The coalition of the group. Now, I like a little revenge in my stories. I like a little revenge in my movies. So that being said, like romance and comedies, there's a place and a time for everything. And if you can't get a party to gel, kill one of them horribly. And the rest of the party will line up and says, fuck this, we're not going to take it. That person needs to be put down hard. I know that's a little mean, but it's not always about saving the princess. Fuck it, Mario needs a break.
You say kill one of the parties. I'll take a loved one of the party.
That too. Kidnap somebody's wife, kill somebody's wife, and see how fast that the party goes from I want to sit home and drink tea and pet my cat and talk to my mom about stuff to all right, what's the mission order? Go there and kill that guy and everything in between me and him? Sure, we're on it. But that's a good way to get your murder hobos. Like I said, there's a thin line. There's a very thin line you have to walk to make it a workable campaign. It's like Wrath of the Righteous. If you take Mythic out, I think it'd be a great campaign, as long as enough of the mechanics are still there. And I think Revenge could be one of the mechanics to drive that. You're trying to stop the MacGuffin. Well, the MacGuffin says, "Fuck this! I'm going to take somebody you love, try to squall this." All right, you just enter the date of your death. Let's get the gravestone and kick this bitch. So that's what I have to say.
I was just thinking about how the movie The Blues Brothers is a tragedy. You don't really see everything coming apart for them until the last 3.5 minutes when they get out of the elevator. But it makes sense now.
I just watched that movie the other day.
It's a great movie.
My only question with that movie is, why did the rest of the band end up in jail? I understand why the brothers ended up there. Oh my God.
It was Illinois. It was Illinois, okay?
Okay. And everybody hates Illinois Nazis.
Guilt by association.
Yeah, the association part killed him. Or it got him in prison at least. Good
Yeah, I
movie.
mean, yeah, you make a good point. You know, Blues Brothers is a tragedy. So is other stories like West Side Story is a tragedy. Romeo and
I've never
Juliet, the
seen
original.
I don't
Really?
tell Janet this, but I've never seen West Side Story. She's been throwing up emasculating movies for the past month and a half now, and
Yeah.
it's yeah.
It's time to
Um,
watch some Married with
Feel for
Children.
you, Bruce. Hey, you know, I keep recommending the greatest comedy of all time, Real Men, but you keep sliding past it, man.
Oh,
All
with
right.
Chevy Chase and his brother, not Chevy Chase.
Small name.
God, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
James Belushi and John Ritter.
Oh, see, I'm thinking of a different movie. Never mind. Charlie
mean, a
Sheen
more-
and Amelia Estevez.
Dirty Work,
Yeah.
Minute Work. Yeah, no, that's not the greatest comedy ever of all time.
Warriors?
I
Okay.
need to see Real Men.
It's
No, I'm
good,
not
clean
upset.
fun. It's good, clean fun.
Okay, Darren,
And
I
I
am not
can't remember.
upset.
I can't remember having ever laughed harder in my life.
All I know, Darren P, is that I'm an Apache attack helicopter. I'm going to beat that horse. Anyway,
Yeah, so tragedy stories can also be revenge stories. Because typically, after the players have achieved their revenge, they don't feel great about it. I can give an example of this. Go ahead.
I just said they shouldn't. They're
Yeah.
heroes.
So,
Oh no.
I can actually give an example of this. So, the party, well, they did kind of feel good about it because it was cathartic for them. But a member of their party, an NPC member of their party, a pocket healer, because nobody played the healer, so I allowed a pocket healer as an NPC to go along with them. They grew really attached to this healer. Well, because of the story, it was set up in such a way that one of their followers or one of someone's cohort was actually evil aligned and working for the enemy, but was in the process of flipping sides. The enemy had come to take that NPC away. Well, they took the wrong NPC by mistake. And the party put on their "we're going to destroy everything in our path" hat until we get that person back. And what preceded was, I think, 2 nights of slogging through, just wading through bodies and blood. And the players were on an absolute mission to get this character back. And I thought it was a great story. Now, the tragedy is what happened to that NPC because of how much time it took them to get to them. That NPC, this was during Wrath of the Righteous, so demons and devils, and you can do the math from here. Actually, not devils, but mostly demons. You can do the math from there. That character was brutalized in the most horrible way possible. You know, that's the story I'd kind of set up for them. So they got to see just how terrible of an enemy they were facing. And when they finally did get the NPC back, they felt good about getting the NPC back, but they didn't feel good about letting the NPC get taken to begin with. And that was the point there. That she was the tragedy. And there are some really great story mechanics you can employ in tragedy style games. Take their loved ones, take their land away from them, and see how hard they fight to get it back.
Now, oddly enough, I can't think of very many because there's not, but I can think of one revenge story that could be turned into a RPG easily. No, maybe easily. The DM's going to have to do some work, but if you're a good DM, you're working and doing work is part of the job. The Count of Monte Cristo, not
Yes.
the sandwich, but the story.
Yes, the Count of Monte Cristo. It's a great revenge story.
He goes through hell. He goes through hell in the first part of the book. He escapes by the help of an old man who is part of, I believe, Napoleon's army. There's more. I can't remember the story as a whole, but more or less, he gets he gets his girl back. He gets the child he doesn't know back. He has land and money and lives a better life than what he started with.
But I'm going to argue that that's the next plot type that we're going to talk about.
Dun dun dun.
So, tragedy typically ends in tragedy. It typically ends really poorly. And unfortunately, most of our players aren't going to be up for that. They're not going to be up for losing a combat. A tragedy could also be considered a TPK, where the entire party is wiped out. But they did it through their own means in a lot of ways, where the players are the ones who facilitated their own death because they failed to run away.
But sometimes it is fun to run the story where you are the one who, where the tragedy is falling, where it is the point where
Yes.
you and it's fun having that cathartic moment of you embracing the fact that you fell, but trying to see the rest of the party remove you from the board. And it's kind of nice when that it's like, yeah, sometimes you lose a fight. And I know most players are like, oh, I can't do that. Sometimes it happens. But having that, that moment where you get to go, all right, this is that point where shit has to happen. And it's like, it's good when you have that tragedy where finally the party confronts the fallen player and you get some actual good a good drama, some good actual story going on before you get that final duel where someone's going to end up dead. Either hopefully the fallen character is one dead, but when dice come out, people end up corpses, and it's great when that happens.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
especially when it's like when you have like one situation where one player just ends up a pile of ash, another one just ends up impaled, and then finally it's like they finally remove the player who took revenge a little too far, and now they're dead. Like, and the game isn't the game's not is the GM's actual story is long past because the players are running the show now, and it's like that the campaign's finally over because they're finally going to go to either redeem the fallen player or murder them because you gotta things have gone too far. You gotta remove this one last problem, and it sure isn't the GM. It's like, and that player it was a good story. It was a good game, and it was entirely a misunderstandings that led to anger, that led to hatred and revenge, and then it led to people being murdered by the dozens in a way that would make any Shakespearean play very like this is right up there.
Death, King Lear.
It's like, or you're like looking at like Romance of the Three Kingdoms levels of body count on the by the end of the game, and it's like you're dealing with high-powered heroes. There better be some reality-shattering shit happening here. That's just how it should be. And finally, the game ends. It was beautiful, that moment.
Actually, we're talking about this. I've always been a big fan, and I would never run a Punisher I could never run a Punisher style RPG. I want to play it, so I would never run it. But I got blasted about a week ago because I quoted a line from the Thomas Jane. It's a Pretty Punisher movie.
Oh, Pretty Boy. Punisher.
Pretty Boy. And where he was talking about revenge is not, sometimes justice is not able to do, sometimes, justice can't do what needs to be done. So there's a natural justice where you go out and kill the bad guy, more or less. But this is not revenge. Revenge is an emotion. This is punishment. And I put that on Facebook for reasons that we're not going to get into. And I got blasted for it. Now, I still see the same concept working in D&D. Sometimes there's the great MacGuffin out there that somehow is untouchable. He's a king. He is, his diplomatic immunity or whatever, and just needs to be put down. And the party has to find a way to put him down, either by him ending up in prison, him being being kicked out of the whatever, where they can't just kill the son of a bitch, even though we all know that bastard belongs in the ground. But he is so powerful and has so many connections, he cannot be touched. So you have to find a different way to bring him down. So that's where what?
I was gonna say anything. Anyone else would like to add?
I was wondering, because there are a few characters that come to mind when we talk about tragedy, but their tragedy started almost at the beginning of their stories. The Grey Mouser and Fafford lost the love of their lives, and that was part of what brought them together. And throughout the rest of their lives, they would always have that, either in their subconscious or what have you, but it colored the rest of their adventures together, and nothing ever would be the same after that moment. Conan had the same situation with Balit. The most perfect woman for him, regardless of who he eventually married, etc. He was always thinking about her. She died horribly, to the point where he moved heaven and earth to try to bring her back from the dead, and there isn't much greater tragedy than that. I also think about another thought came to me. One is, be careful what you wish for. That could be a great tragedy in the making. You've done all this to get what you want, but then you got what you want, and there are always price tags on things like that. And for those fighters out there, think of one of the greatest fighters of all time, Alexander the Great. When he finally got everything he wanted, what did he do? He cried like a little girl. He cried like a little girl because he had nothing left. He'd done it all. He'd conquered the world as far as he knew, and then he broke down and lived the rest of his life in tragedy.
Yeah, he had nothing left to give or nothing left to achieve.
He's done it all.
He felt like he wasted his life.
Now, I guess my thing on this is I will play in a camp. I'll as a player, not as a DM, but as a player, I'll sit down almost at anybody's table and play whatever story they want to throw out, because I respect my DM to go along with whatever way the ship is going. I'm not a big fan of tragedy. For
no one
personal
is.
reasons.
No, nobody is. That's the point.
Yeah, to a point, no one is. There's been a few campaigns I've had to walk away from because they're just too close to real life events for me. So there's a line where we can push into the dark, but to quote Nietzsche, you stare long enough into the abyss will stare back. Or a better line, if you hunt the monster, often you become the monster. So when you are, you're thinking, you're running a campaign, and the players are thinking they're the heroes. All villains are the heroes of their own stories. And when you think that you're doing the right thing, when your party thinks that they're working for the righteousness, they can often become the villain, and they don't. If a DM is able to pull off that hat trick, it's an amazing story. At the end of the campaign, when everything is rolling up, the credits are about ready to roll, you find that, oh shit, we murdered a kingdom because
we're the baddies, aren't we?
Yeah, we murdered a whole kingdom because the kingdom that we have was really a lich, and he wanted something.
Yes,
you're muted.
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of like what I've said before, is that for everyone that you're the hero, you are the villain of at least two others.
Right.
So I mean, I've said that in the past. So yeah.
These honestly, are story plot. No, go for it.
Yeah,
go for it, Kai.
I just like I'm sorry for being that person who's just like, I live for a tragedy storyline. I want those kind of games. I want those kind of stories. I want something more interesting than just another boring slog through a standard trope adventure. I want when somebody goes, "Are we the baddies?" and then be able to look at them and put the Imperial hat on and going, "Yeah, we are." And they're like, "But shouldn't we be heroes?" Boom. Law and Order, Justice for the entire galaxy, murder the dissidents, and having everyone go, "Huh? What?" My entire character plot line was order and stability, and I will bring that over your corpses if you get in the way. But what about freedom? Boom. Character concept was order and stability. The Empire is how I get that. But what about you're starting to sound like a rebel. And then watching that player go, wait, what just happened? And it's like, we wandered around in the dark places for too long, and we saw all the bad things, and we had to, and it slowly drove this character insane. And now he's like, fuck, everyone else is crazy, greedy, short-sighted, and ignorant. I'm going to go join the people who I can at least work with and bring order to the entire galaxy or the world. But we're the baddies, but I'm the one on top of the pile. Blam, blam, and then walking their way through. And you're like, oh shit. Okay. Yes, I want players to have those kind of moments where you give them the temptation and they fail it and they take it. I want somebody to grab the throne and walk off with it. That's not.
Go for it. Sorry.
It's like, because I don't want one of these, but we're heroes. I want somebody to push the corpse off the throne and go, I'm the one in charge now. Everyone bow down to me. But we just overthrew one tyrant to put a new one on the throne. There's always going to be a new tyrant on the throne. It might as well be me in charge. And have everyone go, oh, fuck. Okay, I guess this is what we're doing. Yep, that's what we're doing. And go, roll credits now. Why? Because, well, this story's over. And move on. And have that player go, wait, did we just win by being evil? Yes. Yes, you did. But I know some GMs are going to be like, but players are supposed to be heroes. They're supposed to be good guys. They're supposed to be noble, and perhaps their nobility just leads them to just take over. Obviously, the evil empire will be beneficial by being under my good control. But you're the evil empire. Now you're the evil emperor. No, I'm the good. The good tyrant. Always pick the good tyrants. We disagree. I'm sorry. Guards, kill them. What? You disagree with me. Bye. And move on with your life.
Now, author-wise, I know not everybody is a big fan of George R. Martin. That's fine. But there's and I can't remember what book it was, but George R. Martin.
R. Martin.
Who?
Okay. All right. There is a part of the book.
I only read the classics.
Hear me out, guys. Let me finish my statement. There's a part in one of the books. I can't remember because what book it is, but there's a scene where Robert, has finally killed the people he needs to kill, and Jaime Lannister has switched sides from being with the Targaryens to be with the Baratheons. And the Mad King is like, burn the city, burn this, burn that. And him, Jaime Lannister, being one of the Knight's guards, stabs the Mad King in the back. Just runs him fucking through. And everybody's like, oh my God, you killed the king. You're the Kingslayer, ... As he's pushing the Mad King off to the side, he sits down into the chair, into the Iron Throne, which is a bunch of swords turned into a chair, which seems kind of pointy to me. But and he sits down, and the more lawful, moral person, Ned Stark, that poor dumb bastard, comes in and is like, "What are you doing in the king's chair?" Well, and Jaime says, "Well, no one was using it." And I just thought that was the best bit of bullshit writing. Not lazy writing, because there's a lot of lazy writing out there. God, there's a lot of lazy writing out there. But the fact that he went that way with the story, I thought it was amazing. Just for the moment. I think maybe Shadow can back me up on this one. Because maybe Baron, because we three are the only ones that are fathers in this. I think I could be wrong, but the style campaigns that we normally sit in before we became fathers, we were fine with a lot of different shit. As we became fathers, there was a lot of things we just no, I can't do it. There will be no killing kids. I can't run with that anymore.
Long before I was a father.
Well, I had issues with it before, but it drawled a serious hard line afterwards. Even my
you know my background long before. No,
I get that. Even after when I became a father, you can ask Jade. My sense of humor's changed a great deal. Things I thought was funny, I just don't really. It's changed a bit. I don't do certain jokes anymore.
Better or worse, Jade?
Better in some areas. Far, far more worse than others.
Yeah, dad jokes have become a thing.
It comes with the badge.
So I think, and this all breaks down to all these plots. Each plot works for a certain group. Sometimes you can marinate the plots together to work for certain groups. If you want to go Kai's route, where you want them to feel high one day and be dragged through the mud the next day. Or if
Kai's
you want,
Wrath? Did you just say Kai's Wrath?
Wrath.
I don't have a wrath. Oh no, I'm quite wrathful actually.
Or if you want to do
good word.
Like I'm sure if given the opportunity, if I'm pointing the right direction, if we sat down at Shadow's table, all right, you fuckers, you're all playing paladins, and we're going to be the best damn heroes we can be. Actually,
that's probably going to end in tragedy.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then Kai would get his wish, and everybody else would still say it's the best damn game they ever played.
I'll be happy as hell. I'll be happy as fuck to be playing that game because then I know we got a good framework.
I think the DM is got to look at himself really hard to be willing to understand this is what I'm willing to play. This is the plots I can run comfortably and make sure the party has a good time or is willing to come back next Friday. Now, I joke, the worst thing that ever happened to RPG is we grow up and get girlfriends because I can't make it next Friday because I have a date. Or I can't make it anymore because the wife won't let me.
Well, you guys need to start wearing the pants in your family. That's all I got to say.
But we're also talking about a hobby that most of them back in the day, hey, what are you doing this Friday? You're not, I'm not going to that party. I don't have a girlfriend. I'm going to be down in your basement rolling dice with you because we're all a bunch of nerds, geeks, losers, whatever term you want to use.
Hey.
I mean, it's weird. And at the point, I'm getting back to the point. I think it's weird, though, that in the last 20 years, this hobby went from being in game shops in people's basement to being everywhere.
Best time to be alive for being a nerd.
It kind of is. So I guess going back to the plots, though, now that we have all this media that's branching into our hobby, we can start picking out plots, more media style plots that we want to add to our campaign, to our homebrew. Unless you're running a module, then you get what you get. I know, Kai, I know I'm a lazy fucking DM.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey. I am working away. Don't tell my players that I'm going to throw Vecna? How the fuck you say his name?
Vecna. There's no R in that.
Right. His eyeball into Rise of the Rune Lord somehow. I am working it out in my head. And the party is going to go crazy. Yes. With a little Cthulhu. But no. But, there's a lot of great stories. There's a lot of good movies out there that work really well. I'm not saying stealing other people's IP. I'm saying taking the idea that they were going with and changing it enough to make it yours. And this is what good storytelling is. Now, drink.
Anyone else have anything to add to tragedy?
No.
I know revenge is better.
All right, good night, everybody.
So the final plot type of the 7 plot types is rebirth. This is basically the same as tragedy to a certain extent, but it ends with the main hero or the protagonist coming out of it, better off. They figure out what they've been doing is wrong in some meaningful way, and they change. I've had this happen to several of my characters over many, many years. So, the player or, players take the darkest road possible. The final point on the tragedy, most murder hobo games are tragedies. If you don't believe me, just take an existential look at all of them. But those games can also be turned into rebirth games where the players realize, oh, hey, what we're doing is really fucking horrible. We should stop, and we should turn over a better leaf and forge a better path forward. These are the games that most people who are playing paladins really hit their stride and be like, no, I'm not going to be a paladin of death and destruction. I'm going to be a paladin of saving people, whether or not it's from themselves or a monster. Rebirth, you often find rebirth in stories like, many of the Charles Dickens stories, like Christmas Carol. What are some of the other ones? Technically, Despicable Me is a rebirth story. He's an evil person, and then decides, hey, my life was going really great, up until this point. What changed? And then he realizes what changed, and he decides, hey, I'm going to follow that other path now. So rebirth is kind of the turning point for the tragedy, where the players, like I said, they've come to the realization of, this is not how we want our story to end. We want our legacy to continue, not end in sorrow. So are there any methods or things you can introduce, or clues you can interject into your games, or have interjected into your games, that clue players into, hey, you're heading down the darkest possible path, here's your opportunity to reverse course?
I got one.
Sure.
I've been running a campaign with the same players for over 25 years, and it started out as an evil campaign. There were 4 players, and each of them had 2 characters, and they were the evilest beings you can imagine. They obtained incredible amounts of power. They're still playing these characters today. But the absolute best moment of my dungeon mastering career was the moment we were all sitting at the table, and possibly the evilest character of the bunch came to the realization, just like you said, that we have to change. We cannot continue down this path. We have children, we have empires, we have planets under our control, we have an empire that's immensely powerful, not the most powerful empire in my story or my game. Excuse me, drink everybody. And they actually all came to the basic same agreement that they could not continue down that path, and they were going to change. And then they did, except for the evilest of the characters, who finally got his revenge, unfortunately, or fortunately for the galaxy. They killed each other in a Jakar Londo moment with soul-draining, soul-eating weapons. The two stood face to face, fought each other to the death, and both their souls were eaten by each other's Stormbringer-like weapons, and that was the end for both of them.
Damn. Ooh, I haven't
I
seen
think
this.
Kai wants to chime in.
I'll wait till after Kai's done. 'Cause
I'm done. I'm good. That's all I got, guys. Well, hold on. Would you consider Batman or Gandalf rebirth characters or stories?
No.
Okay.
Gandalf,
No.
yes.
Batman's tragedy.
Batman, no.
Batman's tragedy all the way.
Yeah, Gandalf,
You either
yes.
you live long enough to become the hero, or rather, what's that line?
You die early enough for you to be the hero, or you live long enough to be the villain.
Right. Batman's always a tragedy.
I've got several easy ways of mechanically across many games on how you can warn your players of impending wrong path ahead. That's if you're playing in a World of Darkness campaign, there's always the all-powerful, you're losing humanity points, and
Yep.
you're becoming more
I'm
feral.
familiar with that game system.
And it's like, oh, or that point when you're desperately going, I'm trying to find, to switch from Path of Humanity over to Path of anything else that I can continue to be a functioning creature of the night. Or other games, or simply the warning when the GM looks at you and goes, if you're playing in a more traditional game that engine, when the words alignment change start being bandied about and having players go, oh no, do I care? And
back when alignment changes actually meant something, like XP
Right.
loss.
Right. Or having that point when the player looks at it and goes, I really don't give a shit because I'm not playing a class that cares, so fuck off. But there's always these little, or when you're playing in another game that's amazing, when you say the magic word of you're at 4 dark side points, what are you doing? Oh, I'm 2 away from losing my character, aren't I? Yup. Do you want to lose your character? Not really. Then you might want to stop being a dick. Oh, okay. You're right. But those are just a few ways, and other games have other mechanics. There's always a mechanic of like morality, sanity, something in there that keeps you functioning in an interesting way, or just simply But I've always loved World of Darknesses and Vampires. Wonderful. Oh, humanity loss. Congratulations. Or if you're playing Exalted, stress and you're about to go lose it for a couple scenes. And
I
that's
don't know what that's like.
Someday you need to actually play Exalted. It's a beautiful game.
Oh no, I have. And
What game is that, Kai? I've heard it, but yeah.
It's an amazing role-playing game. It really is. But it's not what most people play. So, or when you're playing,
It's by the same creators as World of Darkness. It's a D10 system.
Yes.
Is that where you play like angels?
No, that's that's different. That's Steve Jackson
Gods.
game. You're playing fragments of empowered mortals with godlike powers, which is pretty much any role-playing game, but you're now a little bit more over the top. And it's all about, what do you do with the power? And it's an interesting role. It's an interesting game. But then again, you can also play a game like, say, Legend of the Five Rings, which you have honor loss. And eventually there's a point when if you just are pathetic enough and you're just based and trashed enough that somebody can come along and say, kill yourself. Because they mechanically can say, you're a dishonorable piece of trash, kill yourself. And your last act could be no, at which point, congratulations, everyone's going to stab your ass, or you can redeem yourself by dying with honor. Congrats. Enjoy it. Have some fun. I mean, it's like there's so many ways of telling a player, stop. You're about to go the wrong direction. You're about to become a black spiral dancer. You're about to become a horrifying monster who's trying to tear apart reality. There's the Ascension there. And, there's always the wrong path. It's there. It's coming. and you're just trying to avoid it. It's great.
You say this, and I agree. I agree that's best. Those are, if you could pull that off as a DM, those are some of the best campaigns. And for movies wise, there's not like a bunch of movies. There is a bunch of movies. Let me rephrase that. But for a deeming point of view, I think of what was it? The last scene in Wanted when Angelina Jolie's character realizes she's been going against the code, and she has that realization that there's only one way to fix this. The rebirth, unfortunately, is her death, but she has that moment where we all need to die,
I would actually consider that still a tragedy.
even though she has has that
She
rebirth moment.
she has that aha moment, but it still ends in tragedy. So
And
I
I
actually
think-
consider that a tragedy.
Okay, what about Shrek? Because we have
Shrek
waffles on the
is a
screen.
comedy. Shrek is a comedy.
But he's a grumpy ogre who gets stuck with a donkey, who likes making waffles in the morning.
But he was always destined to end up with Fiona. If you recall, that's part of the requirements of a comedy is they are destined
Right.
to unite.
Yes.
So
We're gonna make waffles.
Shrek is a comedy. Even it's a romance, but it's a comedy.
Now, I think Rebirth. I don't know if I could do, and this is me being honest. I don't know if I could run a Rebirth campaign well. I don't think that's in my wheelhouse per se.
So
Because-
this is a topic Tablebreakers will eventually get to at a later time. Running an evil game. Where
I don't
all
like
the
running-
player characters are evil. And the goal of the game master is to get them to realize, their evilness and start trending them towards good or making them want to be more good because they realize there's more evil out there than just them. And they might need to be what changes in the universe.
And I get that. I understand that would be fun to talk about. The reason why I'm thinking of this is just, Rebirth is interesting to me as a concept, as a plot. I've read multiple books where it's that. But I keep thinking of Jack Sparrow in Elizabeth Swann's conversation, where Elizabeth Swann says, one of these days you're going to see the right, do the right thing, the right moment's going to happen, and you're going to do the right thing. And Jack Sparrow's, I love those moments. I love to wave to them as they pass me by. So Rebirth, I think would be fun. I think my character in your campaign kind of had a rebirth there at the end because he didn't care if he died. Then he went from being batshit crazy, don't care if he dies, to, hey, I got something to live for, and I need to change some aspects about myself. So
Yeah. Actually, yeah, your character did experience rebirth. So did a few of the characters in Wrath of the Righteous experienced rebirth when I ran it. They realized, the errors of their ways, or they realized the path that they were on, being so gung ho about killing all evil and expunging it from, the face of Galarian. They realized, oh, that's the road of a bad guy. I'm going to be heading down that road too quickly if I do that, especially for the paladin who nearly attacked an unarmed combatant who had thrown down their weapons. Be like, nope, I give up. And he nearly attacked. He nearly did, and then realized if I do that, I'm a fighter without feats.
now there's a class in the Pathfinder. I think there's evil, but it's not evil. It's called the Inquisitor. Because every time somebody plays the Inquisitor, they scare me. I was scared when I was sitting at said table because the way that said person was running, it kind of like, oh my god, we're all gonna die.
Yes, that player, she did a really great Inquisitor against evil, specifically against evil outsiders. Sickness must be purged was her motto. That was her mantra.
Yeah.
Now with that,
that was nightmare fuel.
There is actually an entire world within Savage Worlds where this is really able to come to light. It's called Necessary Evil. Essentially, the aliens come down from space. They kill off all the heroes. There's still a few left, but they're like low-level heroes. So who's left to pick up the pieces and defend Earth? The villains. So that entire campaign is literally a rebirth of them, because there is a bigger evil than them, and they know that they have to change the way they do, not necessarily everything that they're doing, but change a lot of the stuff that they're doing in order to take on that threat. So when we were talking about the rebirth, this is one thing that really came to mind, was this setting within Savage Worlds, and it's actually one that I've actually run a couple times, and I've really enjoyed it. Especially when they start realizing, we get to be bad guys. Oh my god, this is going to be so cool. Oh, I get powers. Oh, this is really going to be cool. And then all of a sudden, it's we're defending the Earth. Crap.
There was a comic. There's been several comics, but there's a couple of comics I have in mind. Yes, I consider comic books considered not great literature, but literature in their own way. Where the Riddler out of the Batman series finally got tired of getting his ass beat by Batman. He's just as smart as Batman. He's a little bit twisted, but he's just as smart as a detective as Batman. He just got tired of getting his ass kicked. He's like, "Fuck this! I'm going to open up my own detective business and start solving crimes." And he did. It was like Joker. I don't know what it was called, but the Joker became a private detective there for a hot minute, and it was a really
Joker's not even on the same level. Come on,
the Riddler. I'm not the Joker. The Riddler. The Riddler.
Still not even close.
And I don't saying that the Riddler is a good guy. I'm just saying it's the rebirth. It's like I'm changing my routine because I'm tired of getting pummeled by the Dark Knight, who should be in prison himself, and I'm going to do something better with my intelligence.
So yeah, that's definitely a good example of a rebirth moment.
I like villains. I mean, I like the concept of villains. The greater good bothers me. The whole concept of the greater good bothers me, but the necessary evil makes me giggle inside.
Which is why you'll never play a paladin.
I know.
You know I'm right.
Unless you're forced to.
Unless I'm forced to. But no one wants me as a
You guys
paladin.
got this guy so wrong. He's so close, so much closer to good than you guys give him credit for, and than he gives himself. I've only known him a short time, but I'm an excellent judge of character, and this guy's got a bigger heart than you guys possibly imagine.
It's not that he can't be good; it's he can't be lawful good.
This is true.
Well, the laws have to be in the current environment. The laws are shit to begin with. So obviously, who could? You put him in the right. You put him in the right environment, and I guarantee you, he'll shine.
No, there's a game. This is not an RP game, but it could be considered an RPG game. Depends on who you're playing it with. Called Secret Hitler. And I was playing this.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
I was playing this with that guy right there, Mr. I've known you for almost 17 years. My best friend, one of my best friends, and my best man at my I should never got married wedding. Now, we're playing this, and I am Hitler, and I am trying to keep the giggles down. I am doing a straight face. I am playing the game. I am role playing my ass off. And it comes to the very end, and it's about ready to go my way. And here speaks my best friend, my brother in arms, the best man to my wedding, the uncle to my child, says, "Don't trust this guy. I've known him for 17 years. He's lying his ass off." I'm like, well, fuck you too, Holmes.
Just because I know when you're lying.
But
his lips are moving.
That's a dinner party game. But there is.
I'm not going to answer that one.
There is a series of role playing that is involved in that game to keep the game going. You do have to act things out. I have actually. That's not true. I have played a paladin once. I have played a paladin. I played a samurai in 3.5, and I did that well.
Yeah, but that's not a paladin.
Right. I
Paladin.
played a paladin twice. Once in Pathfinder because somebody allowed me to use guns. And the other one was in 5e where I was a paladin of vengeance. Oh yes. And I could be a paladin if we did in Greyhawk, because I'd be a paladin of St. Cuthbert because all evil must die. Get the fuck out of my way.
All right. So, 15 minutes left in the night. Does anyone else have anything to add on to Rebirth?
I think Rebirth is something that doesn't really get done a lot. There's a campaign that I ran. I've ran it 3 times. You guys know about the Slumbering Tsar saga. Spoiler alert.
Poor donkeys.
No, not that campaign.
Oh, okay.
In the Slumbering Tsar saga, Rebirth is a big part of the overarching goal. And part of that is because you discover the history to a dead god. Not really dead, just kind of got that 0 followers. Has nobody to bestow gifts to. And so you get a chance to actually bring a god lost to history back into the popular vernacular. And it's really, if you haven't looked or heard about this yet, the Slumbering Tsar saga is probably 600 pages of RPG that you're going to spend about 2 years on. And I would say that would be a good usage of your time to try it. Have a good DM, have them read it. First off, they have to know Pathfinder, but it's well worth the effort. It's really well worth the effort. I'll just leave that there because I don't want to really spoil it, but that Rebirth section does come into play. It's also probably the highest rated adventure module on nzeitgeist.com. Just saying.
Okay.
Shadow, that would be cool as hell. I would love to. Have you as a DM. There's no one in this panel that I would not sit down at their table if they were to DM. Maybe Kai. Kai makes me worry, but that's a good thing.
Don't worry, I will put training wheels on for you so that way you'll have a good starting experience. Don't worry. Eventually, I'll pull them off, and then you'll get to go on the balancing tightrope over the spikes and burning fire and blades, like everybody else.
I don't want to be married again.
God, I knew that's where you were going to go.
If you want training wheels, I'll give you a training wheel. Everyone's happy in their Sunshine and Bunny Rabbits campaign, and it'll be wonderful. And everything will be pretty and pure and puritanical, and you'll be able to go tell everyone that you had your crayons with your game, and it's such a wonderful experience. You went out and did the good things with the good people, and you fought the bad guys, and many a bad thing died, and you were given the good reward for being the good person. Are you so happy for your very cookie cutter? We read it off the side of a cereal box adventure. Oh, I'm so glad.
I know how Kai is spending eternity. I know how Kai is spending eternity.
See what it is no, he's going to leave the training wheels on. He's just going to take the handlebars off of it.
That's right.
No, it's not going to be the. It's going to have training wheels. It will still have the handles on it. What's really missing will be the seat, as it's jabbing me in the ass the entire ride.
Keep in mind, Colin, you walked into that one.
Oh yeah, I know. But no, to be honest, Guy, I would sit down at your table any day of the week. I prefer you to run the way that you run because I like dark and gritty. I can throw punches with the best of them.
Damn.
Wow.
I'm done. I'm out.
Get a little turned
He's
on.
gonna
Are you
keep
there, Kai?
digging himself a hole.
Get a little turned on, huh?
Wow. Uh,
Okay, well, on that note,
I don't. Normally, I would go giggity, but that one's more of a. Ooh, oh my! We got ourselves a fighter. Ooh wee.
all right. So
I just got out of the shower before the show, and I feel like I need another one.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
all righty.
I feel kind of warm and fuzzy on the inside after that. I don't know if that's worried about that or
Are you sure it's not warm and fuzzy on the outside? We've seen your, you know, your.
no.
Yep.
The pup. The
It's a
pups
train
are
wreck in
circling-
progress.
The pups are actually circling Mama right now because the food got delivered.
Really quick,
They're hoping she drops.
I'm going to bring up one starred comment.
That's how derailed we are. Amtrak is proud of us. They want to hire us to run their trains now.
I got to say that I kind of agree with insert name here on this. Really fed up with fantasy games themed after moral codes of modern Westerndom. You know what?
Not me. I don't think there's enough of it.
I'm going to tell you, I want a game. If Kai is running 1920s Call of Cthulhu, I want all of the bigotry. I want all of the hatred, all of the ignorance. I want all of it. I want somebody who is historically accurate. If I am playing in fucking Egypt during 500 AD, I want somebody to make me feel like I'm there. I want somebody to not have the kid gloves on. And that is why I appreciate having Kai in here as a rant master so fucking much.
Saint Kai.
Yeah, Saint Kai in here so fucking much. He does such a great job of making sure that when you sit down, you have your jock strap and your cup in place.
Ooh.
You have to.
If you're going to be in 1920s Europe, you'd better expect it to be miserable. It's going to be different. It's going to be miserable, and I'm going to love running it.
Well, can we be on a train?
Is not in power
hell.
in the 30s. But
or hell, even if you're
until 1920s was all right.
Oh no! But you still have the underlying things that are starting to actually brew up at this point. I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of despair happening in the continent at this point. It's an amazing point to start go. Oh, but we're nowhere near the point when the bad guy we can't talk about because we might get shut down has come to power yet. Like no, but the people who were laying the ground are already there. There's already the anti-Semitism. There's already the hatred. It's already there. You have people who are disgruntled over the fact that the world's worst treaty in the universe has just been signed. You have Central Europe broken. You have France going, do we even want a fight anymore? Because we've lost a generation. You have the continent is in shambles. You have a disgruntled Middle East who's all pissed off because a bunch of fucking Frenchmen and Englishmen had decided to draw straight lines over deserts. We have so much problem. Oh, hell, we can just deal with East Asia's problems going on here. There's so much we can be going on. Oh, and let's go into the Marines beating the shit out of Central America for the banana companies. Let's just go for it. And all of the background, you got evil cults who are sitting here, and now you can have what do you mean? What do you mean we fucked up and a few evil cultists from the evil fish people are out there, or the madness of a dark god is now starting to leach into this because we didn't get all of them because it's impossible to get all of them. Come on, let's do this game. Yes.
Go back up to Thirsty House real quick, Bruce.
It's called Gore. He does. Grim Jim does that. Thirst in Hell.
Yeah.
Yes. God, Jesus will forgive us all. No.
The next one down.
St. Kai is burning down the pulpit.
Now,
no, he hasn't pulled out the gasoline yet. It's only just a minor campfire.
Now, period period style campaigns could be fun. I think one of my favorite movies to watch as a kid was the old TV show. What was it? The Murder on the Oriental Train.
Orient Express.
Orient Express.
And I just kind of got into thinking about running Cthulhu. And so I'm thinking about all those, old movies I used to watch and where can I throw Cthulhu, whatever, him into, and it kind of works out. I'm still.
First off, if you're going to run Call of Cthulhu and on the Orient Express, brilliant idea, because at that point you could have.
It's already been done.
Yes.
It's an actual module. It's an actual module.
One of the best modules I've ever ran through.
It's worth it.
I did that module 3 times in the 90s.
Okay, I have to look for it.
I think I may actually have a copy of it, Connell.
Okay. I'm trying to be original, and as we're talking about these plots, as I realize there is no.
It's not possible. Throw that out the window. Originality?
We just did 3 weeks of
We just did the 7 basic plots to
Yeah.
all stories.
I want to do something unique, and I don't know. If there's already a module about it, I might just run the damn module and just be happy with it.
The module's really fucking good.
Or you could read the module and then tweak it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Just
somebody
have
might say to you the word.
I think we talked about that last night.
That module, can you run it differently, or could you make that game better for me?
No, we can't.
And then die.
Just because you asked, I'm going to make it worse.
Oh,
Then dies in the middle of the adventure.
By his own hand. God. I'm just biffing on the actual name now. I gotta look it up now.
So we're at the last few minutes of the stream. Do we want to go to the wrap up and say what everybody's doing this week, Bruce?
Well,
before we do
actually, before you guys go, what's our topic for next week, guys?
Thank you. That's what I was wondering.
I have no idea. I never have a plan.
Whatever Jade throws down.
Let me open up our guilding server here and take.
Boy, if there's
what?
I think we should hold off on the evil campaign because I was just over with Biggest Geekest, and we just did that like a month ago, and I think we kind of covered it tonight in a way. Maybe we could all build up to that, maybe like a month from now or something. But if there's something else,
actually, I was thinking that there's one that we had that's been sitting there for a little bit, and I think
how to build your
we're
super
at that
guild.
Point. No, but multi-classing.
Bingo.
Ooh,
we covered
big
that
fan.
one.
We touched it. We
Huge
didn't really
fan.
cover it because
We didn't cover
Baron wasn't with us.
Huge fucking fan.
Baron.
Okay, so we already did that one. Never
Not
mind.
really. No, we kind of skimmed through
We
it.
touched on it, but you were I think still training at wherever you were. Yeah, so I think we might have touched on it. It's been a little bit.
Or we could actually get back to basics and where to start for new players or GMs.
I kind of want to do an item building at some point. Just random, not book items, but individual item building for your campaign at some point.
What do you mean item building?
Items that
godly GM gifts for the players.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Yeah.
How to keep them balanced.
Well, back in my day, we got nothing, and we were happy to get it. So
yeah, well, this is not the cave. There's no longer dinosaurs out there, Shadow.
Well, you also want to
I give out some of the most Monty Hall items ever.
Leave the cave. The sun is not your enemy.
So, I believe it was Shadazar. Someone should still recap the list of 7 before the stream ends. I will.
No, go watch the other videos. No, make him watch the other videos.
God damn it! Watch time.
Do we look like we're getting paid for this?
As a recap,
do I
here's
look like
their
I'm getting paid
titles.
for this?
I actually recapped. I recapped the first 4 at the beginning of the night. And those are Overcoming the Monster, followed by The Quest, then Rags to Riches, and A Voyage and Return. And tonight we covered the comedy, the tragedy, and the rebirth.
But still go and watch the other videos because
Yes.
we could use the watch time. Mainly this guy, that guy, that guy. He needs it at some point. He will need it at some time. And the old timer up there can definitely use it. You know, at the end of the stream, he's going to chew my ass out, but I have it coming.
I'm looking forward to Sunday more and more because when you two are together alone, and none of us are here to protect you.
Let's do the wrap up.
And he's got to deal with my son. He's got to deal with my son, who's every day becoming more like Kai. So,
I'm sorry. Do you need help?
Not at all. He's a great kid.
I understand, good kid, but still, you need help with people who are that much of an asshole.
No, but I do want you to meet him one of these days.
I grew up just fine, Kai. I grew up just fine.
No, you didn't.
That's fair.
You're here.
So I got to ask, Kai, you're kind of busy right now. I know you're kind of between semesters, but you're doing a little bit of work and you're building an idea stream or an idea pile.
Yes,
that's what I've got from you lately, Jade. I assume you're probably doing the same thing, maybe a little bit of rendering work, but most of the time you're kind of ransacking your brain as to how you could contribute heavily on Thursday nights. Am I wrong or am I correct?
Yeah, so I only get an hour for I only get an hour for lunch. But I spend that hour driving home to let my dogs outside. So I actually don't get a lot of time to do my own planning or prepping anymore. And there's a whole convoluted story as to why I have to drive home to let my dogs out every day. Mostly because they're husky, and if I don't let them outside to romp and play, they will eat my house. It's not about the pee and poo, but they will literally just eat the house.
Ladies and gentlemen,
if you leave them long enough, they'll take care of that too.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's not saying that they're fat dogs. They're not huskies. No, they're the breed huskies, which will wow.
They will eat the house. So I do most of my thinking, and I do contribute to our chat system or our forum of ideas quite a bit. I rack my brain coming up with Thursday content as well as sometimes Wednesday content. I do try to kind of plot out some bullet points for things. I'm really happy that we got a chance to do the 7 plot. What was that?
Nothing.
Okay. I do want to say thanks for indulging me on the 7 basic plots, because I think it's something that every game master needs to become aware of at some point. What the 7 plots are, how they can potentially use them, and what elements make up these plots. So I was really quite pleased to talk about these plot types, even if it did take 3 weeks to do. So I thank you for that.
Well, I mean, you asked about it.
It's a lot of fun. What are you talking about? We all had a blast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like getting into the weeds, and some of the topics you've brought up, we've definitely went into the weeds. And to my opinion, this is not me trying to glad hand everybody here, but they make for better streams.
Yeah, it's a lot better for us to actually get into the weeds, and I think we need to do more streams more like this.
Plus the longer we hold you off from actually having your own channel, the more stuff, good stuff we get for our own channels. So don't think we're selfless ass kissers. We all have our secret motivation.
Oh no, I'm going to be covering some of the things we've talked about on my own.
So the longer we keep you down, the better it is for the rest of us.
So, with that being said, what is next week's topic there? Master of the board, master of the ideas, the dragger of the title into the weeds?
I was thinking maybe, Jade, we could probably talk about the item list.
Okay.
That can piggyback on Baron's best 7 item video he did, I believe.
Yeah.
We can use that as a foundation.
Thanks, Thirsty.
Thank you, Thirst.
Item building, okay.
Cal, you almost got me to say, Cal, I see what you tried to do there.
I can probably come up with some things for item building, because I do a lot of item building, like personalized item building for my players.
Okay, well let's talk about that next adventure or next session, because I really think we do need to talk about that. It's something that not a lot of DMs do.
Which is what now again?
Crafting. Go ahead.
Well, making magic items, basically.
Not necessarily just magic items. Making personalized items for player characters, items that might have additional meaning or more in-depth meaning than just simply, hey, this is a wand of fireballs that also does wall of fire, or crafting a sword that has intelligence and it's out to destroy all evil, but will consume your soul readily if you don't actively use it often enough.
There's also the intelligent weapons that not enough GMs nowadays even use in the campaign
because they're scared. They're scared a little bit.
I'm also guilty of this. I love being the RPG player MacGyver. I like doing random shit that you shouldn't be able to do with items, but the rule says that you can't. And that's, there should be a hard line where this yes and the hard line saying no. And I keep bouncing into the no more than the yes these days. So
we can definitely touch on item crafting for individual games or for individuals in your game next week. I like that. I'll see what I can come up with.
Did we say what we're going to do Wednesday though?
Wednesday is that's up to Max. Max has got an idea for Wednesday.
Okay. And he always takes forever.
Yeah. He'll get back with us on Tuesday at 11:58 p.m.
No, we're talking about how to on Gatekeepers. Next week we will be talking about how to run a single race campaign where everybody in the party is playing the same race and how it affects the world around them and so forth and so on. It should be a very interesting stream. We all have our opinions on what races, will work well with for those who are able to be on Gatekeepers, and Max will keep us in line.
Well, it's not just,
Do you really believe that for a second? Do you really believe that for a second?
No. Nope.
It's not just picking a single race to talk about. Hey, this is how I'd run, just dwarves. No, it's how to run a game, and basically saying to your players, hey, I'm running an all dwarf campaign or I'm running an all elf campaign. But we'll get into the weeds of that on Gatekeepers on Wednesday next week.
So the next person who has a stream will be Bruce, and that's this coming Saturday. And we will be going back into the world of God We're Fucked as we're fighting two clashing armies.
Well, I mean, that's not to say, the chill stream is also tomorrow. So for those out there who are
every one of us will be there.
In theory.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss that one for
I do recommend the chill stream.
It's been a long week.
Well, then there's Bruce. I'm looking forward to it. Shadow, I'm sure you're looking for it. And hey, Jade, what are you doing Saturday? Notch, notch, wink, wink.
So I've floated an idea towards Bruce. I'm waiting to see how things pan out. And as far as my Saturday goes, besides doing my normal weekend chores, I'm going to try to get some videos recorded. Now that I've got my rig finally set up the way I want and got my audio and video set up the way I want. So yeah, I'll be trying to get some videos made. I just have to script a few more because I've only got 4 of them scripted out to where I can actually let them naturally flow. Yes, I do script bullet points.
I'll go next, I guess. You'll see me Saturday. You'll most likely see me tomorrow and Sunday. We will be talking about the second, not the first. Well, we'll be talking about the last 20 minutes that Jack did not read on Stormfront. But then we'll be going to the Fool's Moon, which
I might be there for that one.
which if you like a howling good time, you will have to show up there because it'll be a one wolf of a conversation.
He
God
wrote
bless
this
you.
shit down.
I might have to take a bite out of that one for you.
Oh, so for those who are Dresden fans, we will be talking about this, and hopefully, young Jack has read the last 20 minutes of that book. If he hasn't, that's okay, because when we bring up Grave Peril, we'll be talking about the last 20 minutes of Full Moon.
Oh man, I can't wait for Grave Peril, dude. That's
I
where the
know, it's
story
a
really
thing.
gets into high gear.
It's a thing. So that's next
I mean,
Sunday.
I'm looking forward to it.
I do want to say this. I want to do a video, me, Shadow, and you guys, not Table Breakers, because I want Table Breakers to be Table Breakers, but a stream at some point where we just talk about old school gaming as adults, where there's just our aspects of it, our likes and our dislikes. It'll just be free form, not so much structure.
Hey
Because
kids,
I'd love to have you guys on my channel.
Hey kids,
You know what that
want to
sounds
have a
like?
bragging YouTube channel? Make sure you do plenty of videos about the poor programming of Disney Plus. And once you get done reviewing that, then make sure you do 17 videos of OSR gaming, because there's never enough talking about OSR. And finally, don't forget 5e is still in production, so make sure you help out old J. Scott Garibay, because he needs some more priors of Gygax. Thank you for tuning in to Bruce Lombardo's YouTube channel. Thank you guys for showing up. I didn't mean to be such a dick that last minute. That was funny. And Shadow and Sun, go ahead, Kai.
But I need to know about that upcoming 5th edition D&D 5 edition 5 edition module. It's going to involve an overpriced stay at the Galactic Star Cruiser, and that will also involve some crossovers with other Disney characters, but it'll be full of really trashy shit. But it'll be overpriced, and and you can only buy it if some costume freak hands you a token that says you're part of the secret club. So you can go over to the secret booth and pay way too much money. But now you have the really special module that's full of fuck out. No.
That will only cost you 5,000 credits.
That's that much to get into the park.
And just a little bit of your soul.
Oh,
Also on
you're Disney, you have no soul.
Wait,
since you all didn't ask me what I was doing this week,
I was getting there.
Bruce is trying to cut the dang thing off.
It's because you're
That's par
redheaded.
for the course.
Well, hey, I'm not a stepchild, so screw you.
Hey, I want to congratulate Garrett on his whopping 1.3 thousand subscribers.
Yes.
Good
and
job,
I
buddy.
recently just hit the watch hours, so I'm waiting for them to deem me okay for monetization. So yeah.
And you'll see a brand new Star Cruiser commercial on Garrett's stream if you don't have YouTube Premium.
Yeah. Watch my ads. Watch the ads. No. So on Saturday evening, hopefully Bruce will cut off early enough this time around. I am planning on doing session 2 of my Pathfinder First Edition game. It's completely improv off the top of my head. They're in the group is in the Mwangi Expanse. You can watch the session 0, which actually technically was also session 1. That is up on my channel. So that way you guys can get an idea. So yeah, look forward to everybody. Make sure you do subscribe to everyone who's on the panel. They do put out great content, except for Kai, because he doesn't have time to put it out. But I'm going to help him with that, so it's okay.
I have no content. This is
no, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you make me an editor on your channel.
Oh,
then
no.
I can go through and get all the rant clips and just start putting them up there. And then what I'll do is I'll put them up there individually, and then I'll put an entire, once I get like 20, 30 minutes worth together, I'll just kind of lace them all together and it'll be one, huge rant video. So that will get all your views because everyone loves your rants, and they will sit and listen to them over and over again, especially when they have a very rough week. And we've got the parrot over there going, did I miss Kai's rant yet? Because he's been waiting all week. He can get in there. He can inject that into his brain and be like, oh, thank God, I don't have to wait till Thursday.
All the money,
Yes.
I will have all the cash, and then be
All the
demonetized.
fat nuggets.
Yes.
As we said, this is why you got canonized tonight. Let me introduce the world to Saint Kai, patron saint
I look
of
forward to
ranks.
I look forward to being demonetized, but having super chats. So
That ain't work. That's the way we do it.
Shadow, what do you got going on this coming week?
Well, as soon as I leave you, gentlemen, I will be doing a craft video with my son based on the classic movie Silent Running. Then, hanging out with Max, hanging out with Bruce, hanging out with Connell, unfortunately. And then next week, we'll be doing a review of another 1970s classic movie. You'll have to watch our Tuesday video to figure out which one it is. And then, of course, more crafts, more book or game reviews next week. And, rinse, repeat, move on to the next week. So a whole bunch of crap. And I think we just hit 300 subs, thanks to all you great guys out there. And I'm looking forward to borrowing some of Baron's internet kung fu and catching up to some of you guys, because we've got a bit of steam at our backs, and it looks like it's going to be a good year.
I had a funny thing happen.
I would actually, I like to see that myself. Is
no
Kai
shit.
and Heathen Dog?
Oh my God!
I think that is a Sunday street, or actually we could probably talk
I
him
will
into
host
doing
that.
the.
I will host that. Ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen,
View hours.
let's get
The thing
ready
is
to
that
rumble.
the thing is that I think we could probably talk Max and talking Heathen Dog coming in on Friday night, and then get Kai on there on Friday night, and just let them go at it.
No.
I have no idea what I'm getting into here. So no.
No. No. It has to be hosted. Ooh, I don't know. I think Jade should host that for his first video as a neutral party.
I've got
Like the
plans for my
moderator.
first.
Yeah, as a moderator. He's the most neutral person out of all of us.
Mr. Getzinger says, "Hey Shadow, I saw your video earlier and you said you're a John Carter fan. Do you know of the OSR game Warriors of the Red Planet? It's a white box rule set, I believe."
You know what? I don't think it's a white box set like that, though. I think it's actually it's a really cheesily put together. You could have put together at your local photocopy shop in the 70s. I've been looking for it if it's the one I think it is, but I might not. If you want to send me a picture, my email's in most of my videos, or just hook up with me later and I'll look it up. But yeah, I'm a huge John Carter fan. It's one of my favorite IPs of all time, and unfortunately, all of the John Carter games out there are just not what I'm looking for.
It's actually on Lulu.
What's it called? Warriors of the Red Planet?
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's available for print on demand for $15 paperback on Lulu.
It's a good price.
That is a damn good price. I want to thank Shauner and you guys for introducing me to Drive Through RP.
It's a place to get good quality reprints.
I got my first.
If you like reprints and you're not a collector like I am, I'll always buy the originals first. But when you absolutely can't live without an original, go to Drive Through. My hardcover books that I got from them are better made than the originals. So,
as somebody who's very poor and doesn't have a lot of free money, drive-throughs PDFs are what keeps me able to buy games. So
both drive-through and DM's Guild as well. Those are some really great sites for getting hold of older content that's out of print.
Yeah, no, as being a father, a proud father that just got the letter that his daughter got accepted into one of the better private schools in this area, drive-through RP will most likely be my place for a while. That's what the astronauts drink.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. So I think we're
You
going
let the pour in?
Let the pours in.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't know. I got suckered into this, and
We look forward to
I'm
having
stuck for life.
we look forward to having you back again with us, Shadow and Sun and chat.
I count the days, it, guys.
Chat. If you guys weren't here, we'd be talking to ourselves.
Horse play, okay? This is how we managed to keep playing these games.
Hey, Kai, I have that exact same flag.
Yeah.
Tablebreakers as a whole does neither condone nor recommend following the words of Kai, Saint Kai of Assisi. He is his own person, and his opinions are not indicative of the group.
There's the Empire. We do well here. See?
well,
Beautiful people.
I think with that.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to wrap this up. It was a pleasure to be here with all of you people tonight, and we'll be back Thursday of next week. Table Breakers, please set your notifications and subscriptions. Everybody here that's on the panel, I'd love it if you guys would check them out. And if you can, we will be popping around the interwebs over the next 7 days, so we'd like to see you again. Thank you so much for spending some quality time with us tonight. Good night.
Night, guys.
Night.